Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I could not agree more with the Deputy Premier's observations of the value of having a job, and it reminded me of a statement from one of my favourite living human beings, the Dalai Lama, who says, be useful and be happy.
Yes.
That is, wake up each day with a sense of purpose. And you can go out into the world and do good things, and that brings its own rewards, and that is whether it's paid employment or unpaid employment. Madam Deputy Speaker, of course, we'll be supporting the member for Clark's notice of motion that the House agrees that Tasmanians deserve a fair social and economic recovery. It does raise the question, what does fairness look like? As we chart our way through the pandemic, while barrelling at us at a rate of knots is accelerating climate impacts, Madam Deputy Speaker. So we have twin crises here of a pandemic and climate, and of course the people who are most affected by that are young people. There is a mental health crisis amongst young people. There is great fear about the future, Madam Deputy Speaker, and COVID's brought it to a point. But young people are engaged and aware, and they know the system is not fair, and they know that they have been shafted by the economic system that's in place now, which has been the key contributor to the enormous social and economic disruption and distress that's been caused by the pandemic. We've got stagnating wages in this country, an increased casualisation of the workforce and insecure work. We've got a government that attacks universities, Madam Deputy Speaker, won't provide them with the critical JobKeeper lifeline, so that you've got some of our finest academic institutions now shedding hundreds of staff, Madam Deputy Speaker. And then you've got a Morrison government that is trying to stop Australians from learning how to critically think by going and getting an arts or humanities degrees, Madam Deputy Speaker. On every single front, the system is unfair on young people. They can't dream of owning their own home, Madam Deputy Speaker. Many of them lost work as a result of the pandemic and lockdown. They are terrified that they're running out of time. And I talked about a young man called Jack O'Hare from the Forestry Watch group of scientists, and we went into the Denison Valley a couple of weeks ago, and Jack's very bright. I said, what are you going to do with your life? You've got to do something with that brain, because brains that aren't put to work start consuming themselves. And he said, I don't have time. I could go to university, but things are such now that I don't feel I have time to spend years getting a degree. I just want to be out here saving the forests and doing what I can for a safe climate. So we cannot talk about fairness without focusing on young people, Madam Deputy Speaker. The difference in their experience of life and their future from what most of us in this place, privileged as we are, experienced could not be more stark, profound, and a challenge to us all, Madam Deputy Speaker, a challenge to us all. The level of poverty in this country and inequality brings shame on us all as Australians, Madam Deputy Speaker, and we know that. What we're looking at from the 25th of September, when there starts to be cuts to the coronavirus supplement for JobKeeper, JobSeeker, when single parent payments will be cut by around $300 a fortnight. This is a government in Canberra that treats people as disposable, and people who aren't in the workforce, Madam Deputy Speaker, as a burden. And it is punitive in its approach to people who are dealing with the profound consequences of intergenerational inequality, Madam Deputy Speaker, and widening social inequality caused by an economic system that's set up by the rich and for the rich, Madam Deputy Speaker. So what does fairness look like? Well, it looks like full employment, Madam Deputy Speaker. It looks like government making sure that the engine room of an economy is built to serve people and the planet, not the profits of billionaires, Madam Deputy Speaker. And if there's one thing COVID's taught us, it's that the money is there if it's needed. It's a political choice that's been made by successive governments. It's a political choice. You could have full employment. You could put a roof over everyone's head. We could be sure that every child in Tasmania is safe and loved and well nourished, Madam Deputy Speaker, attending quality public schools that are well funded, Madam Deputy Speaker. You could have a health system that didn't leave people to die in waiting rooms, Madam Deputy Speaker. You could have an aged care system that respected and allowed to flourish those we've entrusted to its well-funded care, Madam Deputy Speaker. But right across the country, you see unfairness embedded in our social and economic structures. And as a nation, we need to rethink the whole thing, Madam Deputy Speaker. Young people need to know that governments and parliaments have got their back. And while in Tasmania, of course, we do things differently because we're a small and highly connected island, Madam Deputy Speaker, we have a minister in this space who, of course, cares about young people in his portfolio. But still there is unfairness embedded in the system here, Madam Deputy Speaker. Deeply embedded, and we have to have a rethink. And part of that rethink, Madam Deputy Speaker, should be a Green New Deal, where we tackle the twin crises of the social and economic destruction that's been caused by the pandemic and the environmental destruction that is happening as a result of rising greenhouse gas emissions and accelerating climate impacts. You need an economic model, Madam Deputy Speaker, that works for people and the planet, not the profits of billionaires, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it sounds, I'm sure, to the neoliberals in this place and the right-wingers from Labor like heresy to talk about remaking the whole economic system. But, Madam Speaker, Deputy Speaker, unless we do, we are knackered, Madam Deputy Speaker. And unless we have a total rethink of the system, Madam Deputy Speaker, young people will not have the hope for the future that we need them to have and we want them to have, and that we should dedicate every single day of our political life to making sure they do have. Thank you.